Here is a specific use case of SQUA illustrating the analysis of an anonymized proxy logs dataset composed of 10 million rows and 15 columns. For those who are not familiar with this type of representation called parallel coordinates, each column of these data represent an axis. For the axis composed of numerical values, the lowest values are located at the bottom of the axis, and the highest values at the top. For the axis composed of strings of characters, the shortest strings are located at the bottom of the axis, and the longest at the top. If we select a line from the dataset, we therefore obtain a broken line on the parallel coordinates. This synthetic view also allows us to display the frequency of each value on its axis thanks to a color gradient, which makes it possible to highlight anomalies. For example, on the login ID column we can see a frequency outlier. By clicking on this value, which represents almost half of the data set, we immediately obtain a filtering of this one. We then notice that an extremely frequency value appears on the total bytes column, which corresponds to the size of the request. After a more in-depth study, it turned out that this login corresponds in fact to a proxy requiring authentication, mostly returning an error page of fixed size such as the predominant presence of the status value 407, meaning proxy authentication required could let it guess. By putting aside this network traffic, we can confirm that the anomaly is no longer present and continue the analysis. We can also observe an extreme value on the column corresponding to the address of the websites. This value being located at the top of axis, it therefore represents a very long name. We quickly realize that it is an invalid address because the slash separating the host name from the variables is missing. This indicates an invalid URL, an error when entering the address, or possibly a bug in a program, but nothing very serious. The second extreme value, however, is much more problematic. Indeed, by giving the impression of accessing to the login page of a free.fr account, the user in fact accessed a suspicious site hosted on wintopmoney.com. When searching for this user activity over the complete dataset, we obtained 29 requests. We can then inspect the chronological course of events. A series of images downloaded from a web location, but no HTML content, as they were probably retrieved from an email. We then observe an attempt to access a first website, which results in a 302 redirection HTTP status code over a second website hosted on wintopmoney.com, and finally, a third redirection to the legitimate free.fr website. Without realizing it, the user entered his credentials on a fraudulent website, and then find himself logged into the site he was originally trying to reach, disclosing along the way his connection credentials against his will. We have just detected a successful phishing attack with a rather elaborate mechanism.